The galaxy had seen countless species rise and fall in the challenge known across star systems, as the galactic strength test an arena so vast that it could hold hundreds of beings of every imaginable form and size. It was a place where legends were born and hubris was punished harshly. The arena itself floated above the luminous city of Velara Prime, suspended in a magnetic field, with energy barriers that shimmered like liquid glass, and weight simulators that could crush planets. It was said that only the mightiest of species could ever hope to complete the test, and even then none had done it on the first attempt. Whispers of failure echoed through space, from one system to another, and the stories were terrifying yet thrilling. For centuries beings of all kinds had gathered to witness or to attempt the test, and today a crowd had gathered once more to see if any would finally surpass the limits that generations before had claimed impossible. The audience was a sea of colors and shapes, some with 4 arms, some with tentacles, others with crystalline skin that reflected the light in dazzling patterns. They murmured among themselves, speculating on which contestant might succeed, but all eyes slowly turned to a small figure stepping onto the platform, a human, a species often dismissed as fragile, weak, and insignificant in comparison to the towering aliens and energy-saturated beings that filled the arena. The human walked with a quiet confidence that drew stares and incredulous whispers. No one expected this fragile-looking creature to be taken seriously, yet there was something in the human's eyes, a fire, a determination that defied the doubts cast by countless civilizations. The announcer, a massive alien with 3 heads and eyes that glowed like molten metal, boomed over the arena, stating the rules with a voice that vibrated through the air. The galactic strength test was not merely about raw power, but intelligence, adaptability, strategy, and endurance. It would push even the strongest species to the brink, and failure meant humiliation. The human looked around, observing the gargantuan competitors flexing muscles that seemed carved from solid stone and limbs crackling with energy. Some of the aliens scoffed, others sneered openly. They could barely hide the amusement at the human's presence. Bets were placed, bets on how long it would take before the human was crushed or humiliated by the first obstacle. Whispers of typical human frailty floated through the arena, and the human heard none of it. Instead, the human's focus was inward, thinking of every detail that had led to this moment, from the training simulations run on a tiny starship to the countless challenges humans had faced on their home planet, adapting to harsh environments, surviving against predators, and learning from every mistake. Each lesson now fused into the human's resolve. The first obstacle appeared, a massive rotating cylinder designed to crush anything weaker than a stone giant, with energy fields that could disrupt balance and even levitate contestants off the ground. The alien spectators leaned forward, eagerly anticipating failure. The human approached slowly, not with hesitation, but with measured steps, observing the rotations and the pulsing fields, calculating timing and rhythm. The first laugh came from a 4-armed Zorlik, who had shattered the obstacle easily only minutes before, yet the human did not flinch. Instead, the human adjusted stance and began moving with surprising agility, weaving through the barriers and using momentum in ways the aliens had never conceived. Muscles strained and sweat formed, but the human moved with a combination of raw strength and precise technique, as if instinct and calculation were one. The crowd gasped as the human grabbed a swinging lever and propelled forward, using it to dodge a crushing segment, while simultaneously stabilizing on a narrow ledge that would have crushed a larger being. The alien snickers turned to whispers of disbelief. Eyes widened, and some started murmuring impossible, while others clenched fists in frustration. This human seemed to defy not just expectation, but logic. With each movement, the human's mind raced, analyzing every reaction, every shift in the obstacle, learning and adapting on the fly. Every alien present had assumed humans relied on luck and cleverness alone. But this was something more. It was resilience combined with a calm focus honed by countless struggles on worlds where survival demanded ingenuity. The human leaped over an energy field and landed firmly, using the recoil to push through the next challenge, a series of heavy orbs that spun with centrifugal force. Each impact met with a perfect counterbalance as the human's feet struck precisely, and the body adjusted in harmony with the spinning mass. Aliens could not believe what they were seeing. Murmurs of admiration began to replace disbelief. The announcer's voice quaked as the human passed the halfway mark without so much as a stumble. The crowd erupted in noise, some cheering, some frozen in shock, but every single eye in the arena was fixed on the human who had gone from being dismissed as weak to being the center of awe. Even the competitors shifted, nervously plotting strategies, but unsure how to counter a being whose strength was paired with intelligence and unpredictability. The human's chest heaved, but determination never wavered with each obstacle. The applause grew louder, and the fear among competitors grew more palpable. This was not mere luck or showmanship. It was the culmination of a species that had survived everything. The arena itself seemed to pulse in response to the humans' movement, as if acknowledging an anomaly, something unique in all the eons of the galactic strength test. The first obstacle completed, the human paused briefly, taking in the arena the eyes of countless species staring in disbelief. The whispers of impossibility turned into excited chatter. The humans had done something no one expected, and yet this was only the beginning. The humans' gaze shifted toward the next challenge, towering even higher and more complex than the first, and a sense of anticipation rippled through the crowd. The story of this human attempting the galactic strength test had begun, and the galaxy would never look at humanity the same way. A gained human had barely paused before the next challenge appeared, a colossal wall of shifting gravity panels, each panel pulsating with energy designed to warp weight and throw even the strongest competitors off balance. The aliens approaching it flexed their limbs and activated energy shields, preparing to show off strength that would crush most of the other species. The humans studied the wall carefully, every shift of energy, every flicker of light noted and stored in memory, calculating timing and force with precision. No hesitation, no fear, just focus and anticipation. The human sprinted forward, planting each foot with exact force, feeling the panels attempt to throw off balance, adjusting every movement in response, using tiny jumps and rolls that allowed navigation where others would have struggled and fallen. The spectators gasped again, disbelief and awe mixing into a cocktail of excitement. The alien crowd murmured in astonishment, trying to rationalize what they were seeing. How could a human anticipate gravity shifts and move with such grace and power? It was unprecedented. The announcer repeated the rules of this section, and some aliens whispered among themselves that the human could not possibly succeed. They had never seen a species perform like this. Not even the most evolved of warriors could survive these shifting panels without losing composure. Yet the human's momentum never faltered, every step calculated, every leap precise. The body adjusted, instinctively responding to changes in gravitational pull, while the mind predicted the next shift, anticipating danger. Before it arrived, a massive alien with 6 limbs tried to demonstrate power, using brute force, leaping and smashing panels, thinking that would impress the crowd. But the panels retaliated with unpredictable shifts, and the alien tumbled violently off balance, landing with a thud and sparks flying from energy stabilizers. Some of the crowd cheered, but many cringed, knowing the next obstacle would be even more merciless. The human observed, carefully timing movements perfectly, using leverage from one panel to another, sliding along tilted surfaces with a combination of agility and raw strength that no alien expected. As the wall of gravity rose higher and more panels activated, the human never faltered. The human's heart raced, but determination burned brighter. The human could feel energy humming through the platform, a rhythm that became instinctual, each step connecting mind, body, and environment. As the human neared the top, a wave of applause and stunned silence filled the arena. The human paused briefly at the summit, taking a deep breath, feeling the energy of achievement. Yet the next obstacle emerged instantly, a sprawling lattice of moving blades spinning in erratic patterns, each blade capable of slicing through armored hides and reinforced exoskeletons. The alien competitors approached cautiously, using brute strength or shields to defend themselves. Yet most miscalculated the timing. The human studied every motion, the rhythm of the blades, the slight shifts in speed, the way the air moved around them, then sprinted forward, weaving through the spinning dangers. Body low and controlled, the human ducked and rolled under swinging arcs, jumped with perfect timing over gaps, and spun with fluidity that seemed almost supernatural. Every movement precise, every step a testament to training, resilience, and instinct. The spectators were now on their feet, many screaming in amazement, some crying out in disbelief. The human was rewriting expectations with every passing second. What was thought impossible became reality. The human moved like water flowing around obstacles, harnessing every ounce of energy to propel forward and avoid damage. A massive alien with crystalline skin misjudged the spacing and slammed into a blade. Sparks flew and shards scattered across the arena, creating a dangerous secondary obstacle. Yet the human did not falter. The human adjusted with a slight twist of the body, using the spinning shards as leverage to push off and gain momentum, never losing focus or speed. The audience could not contain themselves. The energy in the arena became palpable. The humans were doing something that no one believed possible, accomplishing feats of strength, agility, and intelligence in perfect harmony. The announcer struggled to keep control, the voice booming but faltering. The human paused briefly at the end of the lattice, a look of calm determination on the face now covered in sweat and minor scratches that would have deterred most species. Yet the human spirit burned brighter than ever. The next obstacle was revealed. A chamber filled with shifting energy spheres, each pulsating with different frequencies designed to destabilize balance and sap strength of any being that attempted passage. The alien competitors approached cautiously, calculating movements and force. Yet many faltered, the human's eyes and the pattern noticing subtle hints in the pulses, the timing, the energy flows, and then moved with astonishing precision, diving and rolling over spheres, slipping between cracks, using momentum to pass where brute strength or raw speed would have failed. The crowd erupted with applause, and some aliens covered their faces in disbelief. Some whispered quietly, perhaps for the first time a human could be considered truly strong. The human's determination and skill seemed boundless, every challenge conquered with intelligence, strength, and unyielding willpower. Yet the human did not stop. The human's mind was already anticipating the next sequence, each motion analyzed, each risk assessed and overcome. This human was proving not only that humans could endure, but that they could adapt, innovate, and surpass even the most physically superior species in the galaxy. The energy of the arena seemed to bend around the human, the walls vibrating, as if acknowledging the anomaly. The whispers of doubt turned into cheers of admiration. The aliens, who had dismissed humanity, now watched in stunned silence, knowing the human had changed the narrative forever. And as the human reached the far side of the chamber, the crowd rose to a standing ovation, many species throwing themselves into the energy barriers to try to replicate what the human had done, yet all failed. The human paused briefly for a deep breath, feeling the eyes of the galaxy on them. The next challenge loomed even larger and more dangerous, a challenge that would test endurance, resolve, and creativity more than raw strength. Yet the human's gaze did not falter. The human smiled slightly inwardly, knowing that failure was not an option. That today humanity would be remembered not as weak, fragile beings, but as unstoppable, relentless challengers in a galaxy that had underestimated them. The human had crossed the spinning blades and energy spheres with a combination of focus and instinct that left every alien watching in disbelief. The next trial emerged from the shadows above a massive pit filled with cascading plasma streams, each stream flowing unpredictably and glowing with lethal energy designed to incinerate or melt anything that touched it. The aliens approached with caution and calculation, deploying shields and extended limbs to measure the heat, the vibrations, and the rhythm of the plasma flows. Yet the human studied it differently. The human did not see danger as a barrier, but as a puzzle, each movement a variable to control, each breath a mechanism to time perfectly. The human sprinted forward along the narrow ledge that bordered the pit, feeling heat lick at the skin, yet remaining calm, calculating every step, using the body as a pendulum, swinging and balancing the momentum to avoid being thrown into the streams of plasma. The alien spectators could hardly follow the motion. The human moved faster than the eye could track, jumping from one ledge to another, sliding under arcs of molten energy, using every ounce of balance and strength to propel forward, and each movement precise and elegant. It was almost like the human could predict the plasma, the way some species could predict gravitational shifts. The human's mind worked in overdrive, analyzing the flow, timing the speed, and adjusting the body instantly to changes, every hair on the human's head and every fiber of muscle responding to instinct and logic in perfect harmony. The crowd of aliens gasped again and again, watching species who had trained for centuries fail repeatedly. The human barely seemed to notice the heat or the danger, slipping and leaping through the plasma streams as if they were mere obstacles. In a training yard, the human reached the other side of the pit, landing lightly on a metallic platform, surveying the next test, a vast chamber filled with floating monoliths, each covered with alien inscriptions glowing faintly with energy. The monoliths shifted slowly and rotated randomly, creating gaps and surfaces that changed constantly. The aliens approached cautiously, analyzing the inscriptions and trying to predict safe paths. Yet the humans scanned the shapes, the angles, and the subtle energy flickers, understanding the pattern intuitively and moving like water flowing through rocks. The human jumped and spun from one monolith to another, using momentum to reach each platform, landing with agility and strength that defied expectation. Sparks flew where claws or limbs met metal, yet the human adjusted with micro movements, pushing off with calculated force, using each contact point as a springboard. The alien spectators whispered in disbelief and awe. Even the most seasoned warriors could not keep pace, yet the human remained calm, eyes fixed forward, body moving fluidly, muscles coiled and released in perfect rhythm. It was as if the human had become part of the chamber itself, anticipating each rotation, predicting each gap, adjusting instantly to maintain perfect flow and speed. A massive alien with armored skin attempted the same path, leaping with strength that could crush most species, yet misjudged a rotation and slammed into a monolith, spinning out of control and landing painfully on the edge of the platform. The crowd murmured in shock and admiration. The human, however, continued unhindered, jumping higher and farther, spinning in mid-air with controlled precision, landing lightly and moving to the next obstacle, a vast pit filled with shifting magnetic fields, each designed to repel or attract competitors. Unpredictably, the aliens approached with metallic tools and energy dampeners, yet all struggled to maintain balance in the fluctuating magnetic pull. The human observed carefully, calculating angles of force, direction, and timing, then sprinted forward, running along the edges and leaping across unstable surfaces, using the magnetic fields to propel forward every step. A balance of physics and intuition, the human adjusted instantly, twisting and turning body to counter sudden pulls and pushes, landing lightly despite the chaotic energy surrounding, and feeling the magnetic pulses course through the body as a guide. The spectators were now screaming. The energy in the arena became electric. Every alien watching now had to admit that humans were not only clever and resilient, but capable of feats that no one had imagined. As the human reached the far side, a massive alien with tendrils attempted the same passage, leaping and twisting only to be flung violently across the chamber by a sudden change in magnetic polarity. The crowd gasped, some shielding their eyes from sparks and energy bursts. Yet the human paused briefly, catching breath, observing the final challenge. A colossal structure rising from the center of the arena, a tower of shifting panels pulsating with multicolored energy streams, each stream capable of obliterating the unprepared. The human studied the tower, noting subtle vibrations, sensing the rhythm in the energy flows and planning the path with surgical precision. The human leaped forward, climbing with a combination of strength, speed, and intelligence, using edges of panels as footholds and hands pushing and pulling with calculated effort, slipping between the energy streams with grace and efficiency. Sparks flew as minor contact happened, yet the human adjusted instantly, using the tiniest movements to maintain balance and avoid damage. The alien competitors attempted to follow brute force and shields, proving ineffective against the constantly shifting energy. The crowd erupted into chaotic cheers and stunned silence. A few aliens muttered in disbelief. The human continued upward, each level a test of strength, agility, and strategy. The human anticipated changes that others could not predict, using intuition honed by experience and resilience, overcoming every obstacle that was thrown in front in a display that redefined every standard of what strength and capability meant in the galaxy. The human reached the apex of the tower, standing atop the pulsating energy streams, looking down at the entire arena. The crowd erupted with deafening applause, many species throwing their bodies in celebration or disbelief, yet the human's expression remained calm, a hint of a smile, acknowledging the challenges overcome, yet knowing the trials were not over, for this was only the beginning of proving humanity's worth and resilience in a galaxy that had always underestimated them. The human descended from the tower using controlled movements, landing on the main platform and turning to face the audience and competitors, a silent statement passing through the air that humans were not only survivors, but warriors capable of unimaginable feats in a universe that had thought them fragile and weak. Human stepped off the apex platform and landed on the central floor of the arena, the energy from the trial still humming through the body. The crowd of aliens looked on with expressions ranging from awe to disbelief and fear, knowing that nothing in their history prepared them for what they had just witnessed. The human moved forward, each step confident and deliberate, muscles coiled and released with perfect rhythm, senses alert to every vibration and fluctuation in the massive arena. The next challenge was announced, a chamber that spanned the size of a small city, walls lined with energy grids that shifted randomly and floors that moved unpredictably. The aliens approached cautiously, testing the surfaces and energy flows, sending signals to coordinate their moves, yet the human observed and waited, not moving until the pattern revealed itself in a fleeting moment of clarity, then sprinting forward, using agility and strength to leap and spin across the shifting floors, timing each jump with precision and anticipating every change in the grid's energy. Sparks flew as contact happened, but the human remained unharmed, flowing through the chamber with fluid motion, each movement efficient and elegant. The crowd gasped as even the largest and strongest aliens struggled. The next obstacle appeared, a massive pit filled with gravitational distortions designed to pull competitors in different directions. At once the aliens approached with anti-gravity fields and anchors, trying to compensate, Yet all failed to maintain balance and were pulled violently in different directions. The human paused, studying the distortions, sensing the subtle changes in pull direction and magnitude, then sprinted forward, using each gravitational shift to propel forward, twisting the body midair, landing with perfect balance, every landing calculated and precise. The aliens watched with disbelief, murmuring among themselves that no species should survive this without advanced technology. Yet the human relied only on instinct, intelligence, and physical prowess. The next trial was a series of floating platforms suspended high above a void. The platforms rotated and tilted unpredictably, some disappearing briefly into thin air. To test reflexes, the aliens used extended limbs and energy grips to stabilize themselves, yet all moved with hesitation. The human leaped forward without hesitation, jumping from one platform to another, spinning and twisting, using fingertips and toes to maintain balance and grip. The crowd erupted with cheers as the human executed impossible maneuvers, reaching the far side with a speed and elegance that left every observer stunned. The next trial was announced, a massive wall of energy pillars, each pulsing with different frequencies designed to test endurance and reaction speed. The aliens approached cautiously, timing their movements with mechanical precision, yet every error meant a jolt of energy that knocked them back. The human approached calmly, analyzing the pulse patterns, using sight and intuition to predict the next surge, leaping and twisting through the pillars with perfect timing, absorbing the minimal energy shocks with controlled muscles and continuing forward. The crowd watched in amazement as the human reached the far side. With energy still barely affected, the aliens attempted the same path, yet most were thrown back or knocked aside, their pride shattered as they realized that strength alone could not compete with the combination of speed, intellect, and adaptability displayed by the human. The next challenge emerged, a massive chamber filled with shifting walls that closed and opened unpredictably, creating narrow passageways and crushing barriers. The aliens approached cautiously, measuring distances and timing movements, yet many miscalculated and were slammed against walls or forced to retreat. The human paused, studying the rhythm of the walls, sensing subtle cues, and then moved forward, using perfect timing and explosive agility to slip through narrow gaps, spinning and twisting through the closing walls with precision and balance. The crowd erupted as the human reached the far end unscathed, proving once again that the combination of mind and body was unmatched. The next trial was the final endurance test, a sprawling arena filled with multiple obstacles, from energy fields to plasma streams and gravitational traps, all working simultaneously. The aliens approached carefully, trying to predict the paths and timing, yet all struggled with the chaotic environment. The human assessed the entire arena in a single glance, calculating paths and prioritizing movements, leaping forward using speed and precision to navigate energy fields, twisting to avoid plasma streams, and using gravitational anomalies as a boost for jumps, each movement deliberate, each landing controlled. The crowd roared with amazement and admiration as the human weaved through the chaos with fluid motion, energy sparks flying, yet never hitting the target. The aliens watched in stunned silence, realizing that the human had rewritten the standard of strength and skill in the galaxy. Even the strongest warriors, who had trained for centuries, could not match the speed, intelligence, and adaptability displayed. The human finally reached the exit point. The crowd erupted into deafening cheers, many species throwing themselves into celebration. Yet some remained silent in disbelief, knowing that humans had shattered every expectation. The human paused at the exit, taking a deep breath and looking back at the trials that had challenged every limit known in the galaxy. The expression was calm, yet filled with quiet satisfaction. The human had proven that endurance, intelligence, and instinct combined could surpass any technology or brute strength. The arena echoed with the realization that humans were not just competitors, they were a force that could not be underestimated in a universe that had long assumed fragility and weakness. The aliens began to approach the human with respect and caution, recognizing that a new standard had been set. The human nodded slightly, acknowledging the respect, yet knowing that this was only the beginning of humanity's story. The trials had been overcome, the impossible achieved, and the legacy of human resilience had been etched into the galaxy. As the human exited the arena, the whispers of amazement and disbelief followed every step. Every eye had witnessed the impossible, and every mind had recalculated what humans were capable of. And for the first time in galactic history, species who had never faced humans as equals now recognized that humanity was a force of unparalleled strength and adaptability. The humans stepped into the grand arena, where the final challenge awaited, a space so vast that even the largest alien fleets could have trained within its walls. lined with ancient technology glowing with energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The moment the human entered the atmosphere, shifted the gravity and magnetic fields fluctuated as though the arena itself was testing the resolve of the competitor. The alien council watched from high above, their expressions unreadable yet tension thick in the air, because no species had ever approached this level of mastery without tools or enhancements. The humans' eyes scanned the entire arena, analyzing the shifting hazards, from massive kinetic crushers that swung unpredictably to energy vortices that twisted the very air, and gravity wells that pulled in every ounce of strength and skill, each obstacle designed to be insurmountable by the galaxy's best warriors. Yet the human did not hesitate. A deep breath and the first step forward, every movement deliberate, every calculation instinctual. The kinetic crushers swung with terrifying speed, yet the human twisted midair, using momentum to glide past each one, landing perfectly, with balance intact, energy rippling across the floor like ripples in water. The crowd erupted, some cheering in disbelief, some silent in awe. The next hazard appeared, a series of massive plasma streams shooting from the walls at irregular intervals, some pulses overlapping, creating unpredictable zones of danger. The aliens approached cautiously, timing every step using calculations and predictive algorithms. Yet many were forced to retreat or suffered burns from even the smallest miscalculation. The human paused briefly, observing the pattern, sensing subtle differences in the plasma color and rhythm, then leaped forward, spinning and sliding through the streams, using body control and agility to barely avoid contact. Every landing precise, every movement fluid like water over stone. The spectators gasped collectively, their minds struggling to comprehend how a single being could move faster than perception itself and remain unscathed. The arena shifted again, revealing a massive chasm filled with shifting energy bridges that appeared and disappeared without warning. Even the most advanced sensors failed to predict the path. The aliens froze, using anti-gravity tools and extended limbs to stabilize, yet most could not react fast enough. The human jumped without hesitation, landing on the first bridge, then the next, using instinct to sense when it would vanish, timing every leap perfectly. Using each disappearance to propel forward, the human's speed was unmatched. The body moved with a rhythm that defied calculation. The crowd erupted with excitement, energy flowing through the stadium like a living entity, and whispers spread that humans must have evolved senses beyond comprehension. The next challenge was a series of towering walls lined with energy spikes, each wall rotating and shifting unpredictably, some closing and opening like the jaws of some ancient predator. The aliens approached, cautiously timing movements with precision, yet every error brought pain and humiliation. The human analyzed the rotations, the subtle differences in spin speed and acceleration, predicting each gap with instinct and intelligence, then climbed with explosive power, leaping from one wall to another, twisting and dodging with perfect timing, using fingertips and toes to maintain grip even when the walls shifted. The spectators could hardly believe their eyes, each leap and landing executed with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. The arena erupted with noise, and the alien council whispered among themselves, realizing that nothing in their archives could explain this level of mastery. The next section revealed a massive field of gravitational anomalies where zones of intense pull and push forces collided. The aliens used magnetic boots and stabilizers, yet most were dragged violently into barriers or flung off course. The human studied the fields, sensing the subtle currents moving through the floor and air, then ran forward, using each pull as momentum, propelling higher, leaping further, landing with perfect balance, energy sparks flying yet never touching the human. The crowd roared with excitement, energy echoing through the chamber, as each obstacle seemed to challenge the human further, yet the human flowed through them all, as if the arena itself acknowledged the mastery on display. The final obstacle was revealed, a massive central chamber filled with rotating energy blades, swinging in random patterns above floating platforms that moved in circular patterns, some disappearing into thin air, and a swirling vortex at the center, designed to pull competitors off balance. The aliens approached using calculations and teamwork, yet even coordinated efforts failed, as each misstep meant being struck or flung into the void. The human paused at the entrance, studying the chaos, mapping every movement in the mind, anticipating each swing, each shift, and each pull, then sprinted forward, twisting, spinning, leaping from platform to platform, using body control and reflexes to avoid every blade. The human danced through the chaos, moving faster than perception itself, landing at the center platform, finally facing the swirling vortex. Energy radiated around the body. The aliens watched in stunned silence, realizing that no combination of technology, strength, or skill could match this one being. The human took a deep breath and with a single leap propelled out of the chamber, crossing the finish line in a display of speed, power, and grace that shattered every expectation. The arena erupted with cheers, the sound echoing like a wave across the galaxy. Every spectator, knowing they had witnessed history, the alien council descended slowly, approaching the human with respect and awe, bowing in acknowledgement that humans had rewritten the rules of strength, skill, and endurance. The human nodded slightly, accepting the respect, yet knowing that this was only the beginning of humanity's journey. The galaxy had seen a force of nature unleashed, a being that combined intellect, instinct, and physical prowess into something beyond comprehension. Whispers spread among the spectators that humans must be studied, re-evaluated, and respected as equals, if not superior, to any known species. And as the human exited the grand arena, the energy and admiration followed every step, marking the moment when humanity became more than just another species, a symbol of potential, a reminder that evolution, intelligence, and courage could surpass any obstacle. And even the most prepared alien civilizations had no choice but to recognize that humans were a new standard, a new apex of strength, skill, and adaptability, and the galaxy would never be the same again. After the humans' astonishing victory in the arena, word spread across the galaxy. Faster than any communication network could carry, the news reached distant star systems that had never even heard of Earth and humans. Yet now they were buzzing with whispers and awe. Alien leaders convened emergency councils, some trembling in fear, some calculating how to respond, some secretly curious as to how a single species could overcome challenges that had taken the combined efforts of their greatest warriors decades to master. The human did not rest. Instead, they traveled quietly across the Galactic Council chambers, entering rooms filled with species of every size, shape, and composition, each with their own histories and pride. The aliens stared openly in disbelief, some trying to mask fear, others struggling to maintain composure, while the human moved among them with calm confidence, their presence alone demanding attention and respect. Whispers spread like wildfire as the human approached the center of the chamber, where the council's leaders waited. The room was silent except for the low hum of energy from protective wards and shields. The human spoke simply, with words that carried authority yet no arrogance, and instantly the chamber listened, every species realizing that this human embodied something different, something primal and unmatched by any known measure. The council began with cautious greetings, a mix of politeness and veiled suspicion. Questions were posed about human capabilities, strength, intelligence, and adaptability. Each question met with clear, concise answers that revealed not just raw power, but strategic thinking and instinctive problem-solving that made even the most advanced species reconsider their assumptions. The human described the arena not as a trial, but as a test of potential, a demonstration of how humanity combined intellect, courage, and reflexes to overcome challenges that no other species had ever surmounted. The alien leaders exchanged glances, some openly skeptical, others visibly impressed, yet all unable to ignore the undeniable truth. The human then proposed something unexpected, a challenge to the galaxy, not of war, but of understanding, to push every species to evolve, cooperate, and test themselves in ways they had never imagined. The council murmured among themselves, debating how to respond, some fearful of setting a precedent that might elevate humans above every other species. Yet the humans' calm confidence and clear demonstration of unparalleled skill silenced even the harshest critics. Whispers turned to open acknowledgement that humans were not just survivors, but a force that could shape the future of the galaxy. Alliances began to shift quietly in the back rooms. Some alien factions saw opportunity in aligning with humans, while others plotted ways to study and contain the new variable that humans represented. Intelligence agencies across star systems scrambled to gather data on human physiology, tactics, and instinctive abilities. Every record and archive analyzed in detail, yet none could predict the full scope of what humans were capable of. The human continued their journey through the galactic core, visiting systems where humans were unknown and demonstrating that the feats in the arena were no fluke. Simple exercises with energy manipulation, gravity fields, and complex problem-solving showed that humans could adapt instantly to situations that required both mental and physical prowess. Even species that prided themselves on logic and precision found themselves astonished as humans calculated probabilities, instinctively navigated hazards, and executed maneuvers with perfect timing, every action reinforcing the growing legend of humanity. In the council chambers, debates intensified. Some proposed that humans should be invited to hold seats of influence. Others feared that granting such recognition would disrupt centuries of balance, yet no decision could deny the fact that humans had irrevocably altered perceptions and expectations of capability throughout the galaxy. Covert operations began to monitor human movements not with hostility, but with a mixture of respect and fear. Every species, realizing that humans were unpredictable yet capable of reshaping galactic politics and warfare strategies, the human returned to the arena not for competition, but to study the vast data of past trials and to prepare for the next level of challenges. Because even with victory, the human understood that power was not static, and that the true measure of humanity was not just to overcome, but to inspire and elevate every species to reach higher potential. The alien spectators and council members observed the human with new eyes, every move analyzed not for weakness, but for understanding. Because the human had shown that strength alone was not enough. It was the combination of instinct, intellect, and courage that defined the apex of potential. Whispers turned into formal discussions as alien civilizations began to reevaluate the treaties, alliances, and power structures they had taken for granted for centuries. If humans could achieve such feats without enhancements, without alien technology, what could they achieve in coordinated efforts with access to the galaxy's most advanced tools? The council began to send envoys seeking guidance, training, or alliances, because no species wished to be caught unprepared against the unpredictable genius that humanity represented. And everywhere the human traveled, the same reactions repeated: awe, wonder, and cautious respect, as the galaxy slowly realized that humans were no longer just a species to be catalogued or underestimated. They were now a standard by which all others would measure themselves. The seeds of revolution and strategy and perception were planted, and it became clear that the human presence alone would change the course of galactic history forever. Civilizations would think twice before challenging humans and would seek to learn from them, because the arena was not merely a test, it was a revelation. And as the human moved from system to system, the legacy of the first victory spread like wildfire, every species knowing that this was not the end of human ascension, but the beginning of a new era, where instinct, intelligence, and courage could surpass even the most advanced technologies. And the human's influence was felt in every council chamber, every battlefield planning room, and every research facility, because humanity had shown that even the rules of the galaxy could be rewritten, and no one could deny that humans had arrived as a force that would forever change the balance of power. Alliances shifted, covert monitoring intensified, and every species recalculated what they believed possible. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of humans not just as warriors, but as icons of potential, a new apex species that would challenge assumptions, inspire change, and demand respect. And as whispers became roars, every system began to understand that humans were no longer participants in galactic affairs, they were shapers of destiny. The galaxy had been watching humans for centuries, and now every species knew that a single human could obliterate challenges that had taken their best warriors decades to achieve. Yet the story was far from over, because humans were not content with fleeting victories. They sought not just to survive, but to inspire, to redefine what was possible in every system and every civilization. Reports of the first arena triumph had spread like a supernova, igniting curiosity, awe, and fear across light years. Governments and councils debated how to approach this new reality, some eager to ally, others desperate to contain the unpredictable force humanity represented. Yet humans moved with calm confidence across star systems, not seeking domination but understanding, observation, and subtle guidance. Wherever they went, humans demonstrated that power was not merely brute force. It was intellect, courage, adaptability, and instinct combined in a way that no algorithm, no warship, and no alien physiology could fully anticipate. The human's presence alone altered the balance of power. Entire fleets recalculated maneuvers, as their captains considered that even the most advanced strategies could be countered by humans whose reflexes and insight defied expectation. The councils met in emergency sessions, discussing how to acknowledge the humans without revealing fear. Yet none could deny that humanity had rewritten the rules. Humans entered systems previously thought closed to outsiders, engaging in cultural exchanges, scientific collaborations, and controlled demonstrations of skill. Every action a lesson in unpredictability and capability. And everywhere the humans went, they inspired not fear of annihilation, but hope that challenges could be overcome, that no matter the odds, ingenuity and courage could prevail. Alien students studied humans the way humans had once studied animals in simulations, realizing that instinct and experience combined could surpass raw computational logic. Alien engineers adapted their designs, studying human interaction with gravity manipulation, energy fields, and complex environments, learning to anticipate the flexibility of thought and action that humans displayed. Humans did not boast, instead they observed, they adapted, they guided quietly, ensuring that even the smallest civilizations understood that greatness was accessible to any species willing to push beyond assumptions. The arena had been a stage, the victory a signal that humanity was more than a participant in galactic affairs. Humans were a standard, a measure, a symbol of potential that could reshape politics, economics, and warfare across every sector of space. Alliances shifted subtly, some species offering guidance, others seeking to learn, and still others watching for weaknesses that never appeared. Humans moved with clarity and intent, forging relationships and inspiring collaboration that no one species had ever achieved. The legacy of the arena grew as humans returned to each system, revisiting allies and observers, demonstrating not only what humans could achieve individually, but how they could elevate the capabilities of those around them. Councils that had once dismissed humans as primitive now invited them to share strategies, not to dominate, but to coexist in a galaxy. Suddenly aware of new possibilities, human influence began to extend beyond combat skill into diplomacy, science, and culture, because every human encounter was a lesson in resilience, adaptability, and courage. From the smallest mining colony to the largest capital world, humans shared methods of learning, observation, and instinctual decision-making, showing that the mind and spirit could achieve what brute force and technology alone could not. Alien scholars recorded these events in archives, knowing that history had changed permanently and that human ingenuity would serve as a benchmark for generations to come. Fleets adjusted their protocols, ensuring humans were included in simulations, because the unpredictability of human choice could not be ignored even in controlled environments. The reputation of humans spread faster than any fleet or communication relay. Stories of triumph reached systems that humans had never visited, creating a network of curiosity and respect that spanned the galaxy. Yet humans did not seek accolades or power. They sought to challenge the assumptions of every species, to demonstrate that evolution was ongoing, that every civilization had the capacity to exceed expectations if they embraced courage, ingenuity, and instinct. Humans began to advise coalitions not as rulers, but as catalysts, their actions turning potential conflict into cooperation, their insights transforming stagnation into progress. The galaxy began to see humans as a unifying force, not through coercion, but through undeniable demonstration that capability could inspire change faster than any treaty or edict. The culmination of the first arena victory was not in a single performance, but in the ongoing impact across thousands of systems. Every species recalculating strategies, questioning assumptions, and striving to achieve what humans had demonstrated possible even in the farthest reaches of explored space. Whispers of human visits became legends of hope and fear simultaneously, every encounter a reminder that instinct, intellect, and courage could surpass even the most advanced technologies. Humans had become not only participants in galactic affairs, but shapers of destiny, their influence measurable not in conquest, but in inspiration and progress. The first human victory had set a precedent, and humans continued to build upon it, ensuring that the galaxy understood that the apex of potential was not merely survival, but growth, that no species could predict what humans would accomplish next, because humans thrived on challenge, complexity, and change, and the galaxy watched, knowing that humans had arrived as a permanent and transformative presence. Every species aware that the lessons humans imparted would echo for millennia. The arenas would continue to exist, but now they were arenas of learning, cooperation, and growth. Humans had set the standard, and the galaxy would never forget the day when a single species shattered expectations. A species whose strength was not measured only by muscle or weaponry, but by courage, intellect, and the unyielding drive to surpass limits. The humans moved forward quietly, yet powerfully, shaping the future without force, their legacy secure in every heart, mind, and system touched by their presence. And as the light of distant stars reflected off countless worlds, the galaxy recognized the truth that humans were no longer just contenders, they were architects of possibility, and the story of the first victory was now the story of the dawn of a new era in which humanity would forever alter the course of galactic history, and every species would know that the strength of a human was the strength of inspiration, courage, and the unbreakable potential of life itself. The galaxy had changed forever, and every species could feel it deep in their cores. Humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as catalysts of evolution, and every planet, star, and system they touched pulsed with a new rhythm, a rhythm of possibility and courage. Civilizations that had once measured themselves in isolation now looked outward, inspired by stories of human tenacity, ingenuity, An unshakable will. Humans had demonstrated that limits were illusions, that expectations were meant to be challenged, and that even the oldest and most established empires could learn humility from the unpredictable resourcefulness of a single species. Fleets once focused solely on war now trained in observation, cooperation, and adaptation, because the humans had shown that true strength was not destruction, but the ability to create solutions under pressure, to adapt instantly, and to inspire others to rise above fear and complacency. Scholars and warriors alike recorded human victories and interactions as lessons in resilience, adaptability, and creativity. The humans moved quietly from system to system, teaching not through commands, but through example, showing that even the smallest action could ripple across light years and change destinies. Political leaders reconsidered old rivalries and disputes in the light of human diplomacy and strategic insight, realizing that progress could be accelerated through cooperation guided by instinct, intellect, and courage. Even worlds that had never seen a human now felt their presence through stories, transmissions, and the subtle influence of human technology and culture. Humans had become a living proof that potential could exceed expectation, that courage could outmatch computation, and that hope could inspire action across species. Entire generations of aliens began to train not to defeat humans, because that was impossible, but to learn from their methods, to understand the mindset that combined observation, intuition, and rapid adaptation to navigate complexity with precision and daring. Academies and fleets studied human strategy not to mimic it, but to integrate its essence into their own evolution, and the humans never imposed dominance. They never demanded allegiance. Their strength lay in the undeniable impact of their actions, in the quiet but powerful influence of their existence. In the galaxy, humans celebrated cooperation, curiosity, and challenge, because every encounter was an opportunity to demonstrate that growth could come from courage and collaboration. They explored unknown regions not to claim them, but to test their limits and to offer guidance subtly, where it could prevent catastrophe and unlock potential. The humans had become architects of possibility, showing that true power was measured not in fleets destroyed or worlds conquered, but in the lives inspired. The civilizations that once doubted them now found new ambition, new ways to achieve, and a renewed understanding of their place in the universe. Every star system learned that to encounter a human was to be reminded that instinct, intellect, and courage could transcend technology and tradition. The galaxy watched with reverent anticipation, because every human choice was a lesson in the unpredictable, and every human action a beacon of potential. The story of the first victory had grown into a saga of influence, transformation, and inspiration that would be remembered for millennia. And as the humans continued their journey across the stars, every species knew that their presence was permanent, a force of change that reshaped expectations, rewrote history, and illuminated the path forward. The humans had not only passed the tests of the arenas, they had created a new standard, a living example that greatness was accessible to any who dared to challenge limits. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a species whose strength was unmatched because it combined heart, mind, and spirit into a single unstoppable force. And as countless worlds continued to turn and the stars shone over civilizations large and small, every being carried a piece of the lesson humans had taught, that courage could defy logic, hope could surpass fear, and ingenuity could rewrite destiny. And in that realization, the galaxy understood that humanity had arrived not to dominate, but to awaken and elevate every species they encountered. And with that understanding, the story of humans became legend, myth, and inspiration all at once, a story that would echo across time and space forever, reminding the universe that the first attempt of a human to prove themselves had not only obliterated expectations, but had ignited the dawn of a new era, in which the impossible was always possible and every challenge was an invitation to rise. The end.